For Poland Daily News, I'm Phill Goss. Further protests against the abortion ban in Poland were held around the country on Friday, January 29th. The largest demonstration took place in Warsaw, where protesters gathered in front of Law and Justice Party leader Jarosław Kaczyński's residence, clashing with police in a fog of tear gas. Further protests organized by the Women's Strike marched through the streets of Warsaw and other Polish cities on Friday in response to a constitutional tribunal ruling published in the Journal of Laws on Wednesday, January 27th, banning abortion in Poland with few exceptions. In case of a serious fetal defect, when the pregnancy threatens the life or health of the mother, or when the pregnancy is the result of a crime. The leader of the nationwide Women's Strike commented on the course of the protest, during which many people were arrested.
Outside the Constitutional Court building, these persons were unlawfully detained on the charges of participating in an illegal assembly. It's the police tactics that is being used in spite of the fact that the courts of law usually or almost always acquit persons accused of participating in illegal gatherings, as we all have the right to protest and we break no laws. These persons were dispersed all around Warsaw, driven to different police stations up to 70 kilometers from Warsaw. This is another tactic to make sure that there are no solidarity demonstrations, and that it's harder when the person is being released for her or him to get home. One of the persons who were detained was Klementyna Suchanow, one of the Polish Women's Strike activists. And we treat this detainment especially as a harassment from the state that treats her as a person who is an enemy of the state, not as a regular citizen. She was also driven around, and for 2 hours at least, none of us, including her lawyer, had no contact with her, and the police denied to give any information about her whereabouts, which also meant that the ombudsman representative, the officer that is responsible for checking upon the conditions of people who are being detained in the mechanism of preventing torture, had also no chance to contact her and to check on her. And she will be released possibly tomorrow, after the charges will be filed against her. Still, there are people who are detained, and we might expect another more situations like this, as this is, as I say, the state tactic and the police tactic in Poland against people who use their right to protest, especially to protest the ban on abortion that the government tries to impose in Poland.
Law and Justice Party MP Adam Andruszkiewicz commented. In my opinion, the protests show the level of aggression and vulgarity of the activists who are attacking the government for protecting life. Ms. Lempart is the face of TVN, the opposition, and the aggressive part of the activists. It clearly shows the difference between the Law and Justice Party, a peaceful life, and this vulgarity on the streets. Protest organizers announced that they will not be gathering on January 30th and 31st because of the 29th annual Great Orchestra of Christmas charity event. Event founder Jerzy Owsiak thanked the activists for their support. The Great Orchestra of Christmas Charity is the largest non-governmental, non-profit charity organization in Poland. It raises money for pediatric and elderly care. The Ministry of Health reported a significant decrease in the number of new coronavirus infections in Poland. The Ministry of Health reported 5,864 new coronavirus infections and 303 COVID-related deaths in Poland in the last 24 hours, while conducting nearly 45,000 coronavirus tests. The total number of confirmed infections rose to 1,508,674, and the death toll has now reached 37,082. The Warmińsko-Mazurskie, Lubelskie, and Małopolskie provinces reported the largest number of new infections. 1,140,000 people in Poland have already received the coronavirus vaccine. On January 30th, 1968, students from Warsaw decided to protest against the censorship of the play Dziady, directed by Kazimierz Dejmek. The protest was held at the monument of Adam Mickiewicz, the author of the poetic drama.
The protest against the censorship of the play Dziady, directed by Kazimierz Dejmek, organized by Warsaw students in 1968, erupted after communist authorities in Poland banned its performance, having decided that the play was anti-Soviet and anti-Russian. The protest encouraged others to organize further demonstrations, which later became known as the events of March 1968.
Wanda Zalewska-Zduń, codenamed Rawicz, was a nurse in the Warsaw Uprising and a soldier of Home Army Subdistrict 2 in Żoliborz. She died at the age of 94. In the 1980s, she was an activist in the education section of the Mazowsza region of the Solidarity Trade Union. She was a recipient of both the Warsaw Uprising Cross and the Home Army Cross. Polish President Andrzej Duda paid tribute. The annual pro-life protest called the March for Life was held in Washington on January 29th. The number of participants was much smaller than last year due to the coronavirus pandemic.
This year's protest against the pro-abortion policies of the new U.S. President Joe Biden was held yesterday, January 29th. Joe Biden repealed Donald Trump's executive order a few days earlier and authorized refunding from federal funds to international organizations that conduct and promote abortion. March for Life is an initiative of the American Catholic Church, which has also been joined by many Christian communities. It takes place every year on the anniversary of the 1973 Supreme Court decision in the Roe v. Wade case, granting American women freedom of choice and access to abortions.
For Poland Daily News, I'm Phill Goss. Good night.